All right, folks, welcome back. Today is day 4 with WaniKani. 皆さんお帰りなさい。今日は4日目です。Right. So we're still doing our reviews. Nothing really much to write home about. WaniKani is enforcing, hammer down on doing the moderation, setting it in. And I imagine we'll be doing the same for tomorrow. And then tomorrow might be the big day. I'm curious if they're going to add the lesson as we complete it. Or they're going to be like, hold. All right, the following day. Right. So let's get in here and do our reviews. Now we know. It is I appreciate the different approach in the sense that incredibly stringent, right? You're not doing the let's lax up and allow you all the options and flexibilities. It's interesting. So let's do these reviews quickly. Oh, I typed Yama. that that was bound to happen. Yeah. That was bound to happen. Although I did I typed Yama again. Oh, it does say like a pop-up for apprentice. So yeah, like that, apprentice up. I didn't get to see that because I didn't wait long, so it kind of distracted me, and then I typed Yama. Wait. Oh no. Oh, I guess it means like oh, that's interesting. Did I miss this multiple times? Oh, I might have. Did I type mountain incorrectly twice? Is that why this went down by 2? Oh, I must have had a typo. Oh, that's okay. I was distracted by today. I was distracted by I didn't realize it was another like effect coming out that says apprentice up. Might be because so apprentice, it just shows like the level went up. And the moment I saw that, I thought of something else and I immediately typed Yama, which is my jerk reflex. So whenever I'm typing the English, right, their mnemonics that they're using, I'm actually pausing. There's a pause in front of everything. So like whenever I see ichi, I have to pause and then type ground. And then I see, these radicals, which technically don't have names. So the ones that largely don't have names are a little bit faster, and the ones that are actually they're actually kanji characters, I have to pause. Like every time I see ki, I would my middle finger would slightly tap K, but it didn't actuate the key yet. And then I would type tree. So mountain was bound to happen. Yama was bound to happen. If you look, let's see, which ones did I miss? Like or toe for their mnemonic, and slide, largely because of barb, and then Kawa and ki would likely have gonna be a chance that would mess up, and also sun for he, and o or guy, right, could end up messing up, and ni and ichi. could end up, I guess, onna. So there are quite a lot of them that I could end up typing like hito, kuchi, nana, right? Nana, ju. So we have a bunch of them that I have to pause a couple times. Largely because I'm getting used to whatever the mnemonics that they're doing. So at least tomorrow, I think even with our mistakes here and there, I can definitely tell where the mistakes come from. You know, this is the part where I explain the mistakes to myself. I think it's a routine that is it's definitely worth to breathe, in my opinion. Here's my opinion, right? It's worth to stop, breathe, process, think about your mistakes. If you can explain it, you can choose potentially in a way to address it, unless you find it insignificant, and largely the mistakes that I've made are largely insignificant. To me personally, on when you're doing larger tasks that are multifaceted, these errors won't necessarily significantly impact the task at hand. However, it is funny to see these little little nuances here and there that I would definitely type. I definitely typed mountain, Yama the first time, and then when I went to type mountain, I think I had a spelling error because I typed Yama, then I deleted it very quickly and tried to type mountain, and I'm pretty sure I had a double typo. It didn't there's no way to tell like in retroactively what I actually did, but I'm pretty sure I misspelled mountain as well, which typos happen. So it looks like you can double decrease if you make a double error, which I kind of disagree with. I think that is not a very prominent strategy to double. So Yama should be at 3 ticks. I'm pretty sure I didn't miss Yama the last 3 times. Or like I didn't miss Yama more than 2 times prior to this day. So I don't particularly like that, where it's 1-to-1 when it comes to mistakes and progression, right? It's usually a soft step back because you're relying on the idea that when someone makes a mistake, the mistake is predicated on some learning experience, as opposed to it's a 1-for-1 where the progressively more mistakes you make, they're all still treated equal. I disagree with this type of 1-to-1 system, but maybe I did miss Yama more than once. We'll see. Largely due to the nature that all the ones that I did miss once are still at 3. So like slide and stuff. If you want install scripts that allow the correction of false mistakes, just because it can be frustrating if you lose a couple days to unlock new because of that. If you want, no, we're evaluating WaniKani's design. We're not evaluating modders change of that. So that would be unfaithful, in my opinion. It would be a deceptive use or a depiction of what is designed. So I would probably not do anything of that. The only things that I would be able to bring in is that I do it myself, so as the user themselves. So it's nice to see that other people have offered additional like plugins and scripts, but that's something that I've chosen myself professionally as a learning thing. Like for example, this shows up a lot, Gecko, where someone's like, oh, do you watch anime? And then the setup is that they're going to tell me that there's a plugin that I can farm and mine the scripts for extracting the transcripts for a anime. Well, the idea is that if I don't do it myself, then the script wouldn't naturally help me in the sense of making the mistake in the first place. That's a personal take. I know that other people like the downstream effects, but generally speaking, The thing that I just stated now is something that I'll keep track of myself. So naturally, if I know how to explain the mistake, whether it blocks the unlocking of kanji or not, that would be an evaluation based on WaniKani's design, as opposed to adding a script after the fact, which is not part of WaniKani's design, right? Anyways, yeah, it's pretty obvious that I'm gonna end up doing this a lot. So we'll see how disciplined I can be about not typing Yama for this radical. It is certainly it's certainly humbling my practice of English, especially my typos. I did notice that sometimes they account for typographical errors. I think there was one where I typed what did I say? Oh, I misspelled ground, and they accepted gound as opposed to ground. They accepted gound. I actually don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but I missed the R in ground. And I'm guessing in mountain, what do I typically do in mountain? There is a chance my diphthongs got reversed. So like M-O-U-N could end up M-U-O-N, or ain, the AI could be backwards depending on how speed. Actually, the OU would not be out of sync. It's usually sometimes my if you're jumping from one hand to the other, sometimes my left hand actuates slower than my right hand. So A to I could be late. A to I, A being on the left hand and I being on the right hand. I've noticed these are acceptable typographical errors for myself because I'm getting old and we're gonna keep trying to keep our hands spry. They definitely do catch most small typos, which is nice. Also, is your writing the reading of a kanji when you're asking for the meaning, or the other way around? They'll catch that. Right. If you write the reading of a kanji when they're asking for the meaning, or the other way, they will catch that. Oh, that's interesting. It didn't catch that this time because maybe the stuff isn't unlocked yet, because I typed Yama. I actually typed Yama twice, but the second time I managed to stop and then erase it, but then I typed mountain incorrectly. Probably that's why I got this wrong twice. I think maybe down the road. That's nice to know though. I don't think it's happening right now because they technically radicals don't have readings. Yeah. So the even then, on too many technical aspects, right? Technical aspects that involves knowledge that you're not supposed to have yet. So that's being incredibly stringent, which is nice because we have to keep in mind that as most of my evaluations for WaniKani is that this is a 0 to a level. It's from 0. It's a from 0 application design, not a skip to your thing design, right? Duolingo is a skip to your thing design. It's an open design. WaniKani is a from 0 design. So we have to keep in mind that most of my observations are observations. They are not criticism. So if you employ a script to catch these false positives, you would not know these false positives unless you are not from 0, right? So if a user uses this, they would not know why. In fact, they wouldn't be making these errors. The nature of the error that I made is not a false positive. It would be more of a moot point, as in it would not naturally occur if someone was from 0, at least in my opinion. So that's pretty much on me to adapt to WaniKani's design. And these errors can be useful. May be useful. They may be useful for WaniKani developers to consider, perhaps, if the frequency is high enough. I don't think the frequency is going to be high enough where like they experience a vast majority of people coming in not from zero, as in people who are targeting, somehow their product ends up targeting someone who would be prone to making this error. Also, I'm a little bit quick on this, so I can slow down. The idea is to slow down and do not rush and become complacent. Although, obviously, you could choose to spoil this for me if you want it. The idea is I haven't learned yet if it's a 1-to-1 ratio in unlock or it's a all or none quantize unlock. So that would be interesting too. I guess I'll find out tomorrow. And then also if it's a triggered unlock or a what do you call them? Live service model, time gated unlock. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow. We're finally gonna approach that time where we just learn how their unlock process is determined, because at most statistically we're going to be able to fill at least one of the radicals pip requirements. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that is like. It'll be interesting. Patience. Meanwhile, like effectively Duolingo is kicking my butt because I've realized my gap in knowledge is insane. So it liberates. It's quite convenient that these ones are light. I'm gonna do 2 extra studies and then we'll redo our lessons for our recent mistakes, right? Okay. Actually, let's read this again. This is the mountain. You'll have to add the lines to make up the top of the mountains if you want it to be more mountain-like. I also drew some ridges here. You don't want to spoil too much things since you definitely seem to enjoy the discovery. Yeah, I certainly do. However, I have to know, you have to know that if you were to freely spoil things, my commentary and my experience would be different. So it's not necessarily I know the word tends to involve like the loss of a potential, but generally speaking, when someone is very overzealous and they tell me about, like, say, the ending of a movie, what that means is it's not the lost in potentially under the discovery of the end of the movie. Now it's now a different experience in which now I watch the end of the movie in order to empathize with the person who have shared it with me. So it's more of an exchange of experiences, right? So I had to keep in, I want to reiterate this to individuals because the normalized behavior is a selfish one. As it's a selfish one, but it's also a compassionate one out of selfishness. So what I mean by that is when people use the word spoil, they think about how they would feel if someone just spoils the end for your movie, for the movie or something, right? And then naturally, I think most people's feelings would be like, oh man, now I don't get to find out myself. And that's very reasonable. I think for the most part, I think 8 out of 10 people would probably feel the same way. For myself, if someone happens to be talking to me now and it's stopping them from enjoying the discussion, as in, like, if you feel discomfort, like, oh, you're so excited, you want to share that with me, I prefer that you share it with me so that I can I take the opportunity, because we, you know, strangers don't get a lot of time, or even close friends get a lot of time to talk to each other. So I like to elevate the importance of the discussion and not the need for experience. So you're more than free to spoil as much as you want, provided that it doesn't stop you from enjoying our discussions. Because it would be very, very weird. Here, I'll give you a hypothetical example of this. A teacher, right? A teacher would be teaching a lesson, and then a student would ask, they would have a really interesting question. And the teacher thought to themselves, well, if I answer this question, then it would spoil my punchline for my class, right? For today's lesson. And so the teacher decides, oh, okay, well, we'll just wait until we, get to that point. It's a kind of a spoiler for what I'm about to say later. However, hear me out here, even in a classroom environment, that student could have lost interest by the time you get to that point. So the teacher have chosen to stick to the natural course of the thing at the expense of seizing the opportunity when the student or the person is most interested. So that can be like I'm not saying it's always the case. However, the idea is there are different priorities for different people. And for myself, you can spoil everything if you want it. What that would end up doing for me is that then I would be able to talk about it the moment it happens. Like, for example, yesterday when we said baka, right, in level 38, I voluntarily spoiled the vocabulary in level 38 because it is relevant for the next time we speak. So in order to seize the opportunity to relate to someone who is serendipitously interacting with me now, I prefer to spoil things in advance in order to have tethers of connection with another person. And that tether of connection, instead of making it like, oh, now I know, but I didn't get there, I use it as a point to bond us to that moment. So if you wanted to spoil something, my commentary later, know that when you're spoiling it, my commentary will be referring to you then, right? So it would be the whole point of getting there now. Now I have a point to getting there to see what you mean, right? Very interesting take. I'll try to be smart about it. Also, not a spoiler, I think. You might be interested in the website. Oh, yes, not a spoiler. Someone has mentioned that before. Yeah, you can... interesting visualization. There's also like I really like that screensaver that people were making, where it shows like your representation of your progress through the depiction of the kanji. That's a really neat one. There's also Kaniwani, the companion site Kaniwani, which is unofficial, but it does the reverse or focuses on the reverse. Lots of shares on these while I was using Duolingo. Oh yeah, no, you got it. Yeah, stats are fun. It's actually the stats thing, I think it's linked somewhere in the guidebook, or like what I'm saying is there's an allusion to that stats somewhere. I'm pretty sure it was in the guidebook. Hold up. I think it's under help. I read through most of this. There was oh no, it might be a community post. It might be a forum post that someone made. Maybe like from down here when we went to the forums. But someone mentioned the WK Stats site. It's probably where the stats is coming from that was using the API. They were data mining through the API for that screensaver thing, or the background stat thing. I was looking for a wallpaper for like the layout and whatnot, and it would have been great, but obviously in the beginning there's not enough to proliferate the screen. But anyways, yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. I will most definitely be looking at that a little bit later down the road, because it does seem like WaniKani gives you just enough stats to not be carried away with stats, right? I think sometimes stats are great, and then there are times when stats start defining your thing. But I'll take a peep at it for sure. All right, let's do these lessons. So I drew a lot of mountains. The first time I saw Yama again, we were drawing some mountains because mountains are fun to draw. I guess we can still continue to add notes. That's funny that they use the various versions like dasu, desu, dekiru for that. Oh, and this was very informative. I didn't quite imagine it as Yama or this radical mountain in this, and it definitely helped me out with the ryoshin. Ryoshin makes because Shin is also Oya, so Shin is Oya as in parents, right? And then if you add Ryo, which is both, you have both parents, which Ryoshin is parents, as in both your parents, which is really neat. I didn't make that connection before, so that's kind of out from left field. You find connections where they might not intend for you to find connections. It's pretty neat. I did try Kaniwani and it was alright, but I choose not to allocate time to it for the moment. That's perfectly alright. Yeah, you gotta prioritize your time, you know? Alright, so let's do this quiz. We only got one. And I almost typed Yama again. Okay, so let's do this 2 more times and we'll call it a day. You know what's even impressive right now? I really thought one of these 5 days I was gonna do this for 5 minutes and the video, like the clipped video, was only gonna be 5 minutes. But somehow, some way, it's nice that these discussions give it a little bit more weight. Alright, let's do this 2 more times. I'm buying my time. Okay. Nope, I almost typed Hito. I started with N because of Nana. And then I was like, wait. And then I kind of just went, oh. Okay. Alright. Hold on. Just hear me out here. It'll happen less, I think. I know it's hard to you can't see it, but if I had like a hand cam, if I had like a camera right on top of a camera, you can probably see the micro movements of my hand towards a specific key, but I don't hit anything because I have to make sure I'm not typing the nomaji instead. Yeah, there's a slight pause every time. Right. let's do that one more time. Okay. Definitely the ones that do not have a meaning attached to it already are much faster. Oh. That took a bit. Whoops. I started typing key. Yeah, brain rewiring in progress. Occasionally. Um, I have I don't know if you're into keyboards, Gecko. A lot of times, people who are into like Japanese culture and stuff, it end up bleeding into like gaming and then bleeding up to video games and whatnot. And then keyboards enthusiasts tend to overlap with this. I have a keyboard that has blue switches, and the actuation force is fairly noticeable compared to like using a red switch keyboard or like a linear switch keyboard. So occasionally I actually do tap on the key that is the Romaji character, but it doesn't actuate. But occasionally when I say whoops, it's because I accidentally pressed a little too hard. I'm like, oh, yep, there it is. I revealed my hand, if you will. Yeah, it does take a little bit. I pause every time. So also there's one thing that I mentally do quite a bit, and it's intentional. So it's not like a bad thing. Whenever I notice a mistake that I made, I intentionally pause longer. I'm like telling myself, all right, this is my previous mistake. Stop. Look. And if you're doing something in milliseconds already, or you're doing something in a second, like say it takes you a second to type a prompt, 2 seconds is a lot. It's double the amount of time. So I deliberately pause on Yama or Mountain, the last two reviews, because I want to make sure that I'm exercising. Hey, let's look at this again, go over what was it that I did, and then proceed. And I do this for every single error that I make ever since. So like this is my life pattern thing. You do have a gaming keyboard, but you also have a separate typing keyboard, okay, which you definitely switch to when I need to type a lot. Yeah, I may I like I'm already wearing IEM, so like the tactility and the clicky thing. The clicky thing may be a little bit less noticeable. However, I use tactile clicky switches whenever I'm predominantly typing. And then I really should get a new linear keyboard as well when I go back to like gaming. But generally speaking, I'm typing most of the time nowadays. So I just use this keyboard most of the time. But yes, a typing keyboard is uh, somewhat actually incredibly satisfying when you're predominantly typing as well. Not for everyone, obviously. You got those goobers nowadays that like their thocky keyboards. It's a whole habit. I like I occasionally peruse and watch keyboard hobbyists do their thing, and hearing like different type of switch profiles and their mods to their keyboards. It's quite a sprawling hobby considering the how integrated we are with our tech these days. It's very important. It's like shoes, right? Like if you run a lot and walk a lot like I do, um you gotta be invested and interested in your shoes. I mean, you gotta do that kind of thing. So if you're like a keyboard, you know, I don't know. I'm not sure if anyone has ever said this in a positive light before, but if you're truly a keyboard warrior, you gotta invest in your hardware that you use nearly like more than 50% of your time while you're awake. Hence my tablet, right, and my mouse choices and whatnot. All right, well, that's a wrap for our lesson. So let's warm up our hands and write these things again. Slide is kind of terrifying. It's almost as terrifying as imagining sliding down that thing. For real though. My hand's feeling kind of alright today. Oh, spoke too soon. Oh, wait. Now that I think about it, nah, I think Japanese goes horizontal, then vertical and cross. Huh. Very humbling experience. You get so used to writing specific patterns that now I'm starting to secondhand guess my stroke order. Oof. That's a slide across if I... Oh. Then help. Acknowledging mistakes is key. It's something I have to pay attention to as I sometimes have less time than I like for your lesson reviews. I have an unconscious tendency to try to be as fast, very counterproductive. Yeah, that's understandable. But being aware of it is not, you know? I sometimes like the reason why I pause is right now it's trivial, right? So here's my opposite way of thinking, which I find people find a little bit trivial. So I usually do things first as more of a preventive measure before the problem, or I try to be like a balance. I like to think of preventive behaviors and habits when they have least resistance or less resistance, versus when the problem occurs, before the problem occurs, or before something occurs. It doesn't necessarily have to be a problem per se. So right now it seems like it would be trivial to like stop at this point. However, for myself, I have a balance. There are habits that, okay, I'll just wait till it becomes something that significantly impacts the way I do things, or it never becomes a problem. That's great, right? Sometimes people might say, well, if you're doing all these things initially, how do you know it's going to be a problem later? Well, you don't. What I do is these things are kind of things that I practice so that I practice something else. The way of thinking about preventive thinking versus problem solving are two different spheres, right? So I anticipate that this routine is something applicable to later when the volume gets higher. And not quite minimally, most people wait till the problem is a problem before addressing it, which still makes you an excellent problem solver. However, a lot of times there are things in life where if you have time for it, I take the opportunity to do it beforehand. And then by the time you get to a problem, you have a habit in place that already addresses that. So it's kind of a mixed bag, right? So one could see as counterproductive after the fact, or one could see it as being proactive before the fact, if you know what I mean. So this is kind of my routine that I do. There are things that I'm like, I have time to do this, so I have an excellent time. It's an opportunity to slow down and then see if I can produce a habit that will later be faster by the time I get there. So like I would no longer be thinking about how I will solve this since I'm already observing how they're doing their progressions and stuff. So I'm already starting to do routines around WaniKani's design that will address, okay, the next time I make an error, the moment I see it, I'll pause and I'll probably write it down myself. So then I'm already developing a routine for myself to be like, pause. So instinctively it will take less and less time for me to pause, write, and then we'll move on in that way. So yeah, the script would make it definitely convenient, but I can do it myself too. So that's probably where I go in the future. Until it's like maybe there are things I can't do humanly possible and time becomes too tight, then I will consider the script. And in the script, then I will use what the time that's liberated by the script to do something else with it. Right. And then know that I will no longer be humanly capturing those mistakes, right? Capturing mistakes unaided is a skill that can be practiced. How productive it is, it's definitely in the eye of the beholder. And like, for example, me writing on the side just now, that could be counterproductive to individuals who do not have value in that system. For me, when I'm writing this, it slows me down naturally. Like there's no way I can like write all this stuff very quickly. So I'm naturally slowing down to look at these characters, right? When I look at these characters, it gives me an opportunity to practice writing. That's a bonus. But at the same time, it slows me down in order for me to look at these characters. Otherwise, the memory technique that I use would be I would look at this thing as a whole thing, right? Like right now, the fastest way I would do this is I would take a mental image of all these blocks and that's it. It would take like 5 seconds. And then for the future, all I do is remember this entire block in order from left to right. That's what I used to do. Like reading textbooks was the same way. I would see the whole page as a whole and then know all the orientations like next to each other. So if I knew like I need to know what this is, I can think about the thing before it and the thing after it to capture the thing in the middle. That's what I started doing with Duolingo until I started making constructs. Once I started making constructs, then all the order of these things would be changed. Like for example, I would definitely order this in front of this, right? So if I were to write my construct, it would start with these two. And then I would cluster like Barb with slide, right? And then Kawa, or what looks like Kawa, next to key. And then that's where the construct idea comes from, where I'm grouping them based on my neuronal connections, as opposed to what seems like their preferences, but it's not quite organized the way I would like it. So Duolingo, at the end of Duolingo sessions on day ones, this is what I mean by construct defining. You're creating your own version, even if it's limited to this. So like Hito would most definitely be clustered with versions of enter, which I've done before already in Duolingo. So now these are overlapping with what my Duolingo experience is if I organize it this way. I'm curious, do you have other serious experiences in language learning prior to the last 302 days? The most serious language learning I've ever had was my first learned language. My first learned language is Spanish. That includes 1.5 years in high school and 1.5 years in college, like by semester. So a total of 6 semesters of Spanish. And we are starting Spanish in February on Duolingo's flagship language, as to get an idea of what Duolingo's like highest investment is, next to English being the language that I use as a bridging language. Yeah. And in terms of serious experience, Hujihua is my primary speaking language actually at home. So it's about 50-50. I don't actually speak English. I don't actually speak English when the stream goes off, unless I'm talking to someone online. Right now, 99% of my actual speaking language is English online. However, 99.9% of my IRL speaking language is in Fujianese. I rarely use English to talk with my parents. So whenever my parents are around or whenever I'm like not in front of my computer, it's often a different language. So in terms of serious experience, it would be divided among those. Oh, that's fun. You started Duo with Spanish. That's what I hear a lot of. Interesting enough, hear me out. The people that hang around with me long enough, we all somehow like have some connection to Spanish or a willingness to use Spanish when it comes to the Duolingo experience, because I don't know what it is. It might be a pure coincidence but the Spanish course is how you would get the definitive experience, whether you're like monetary invested or not. So I really want to know what the bells and whistles are. And by the end of 2025, I do plan on doing the 1 month of max. I want to see the limits and like the parallelisms drawn with LLMs, right? Actually, before then though, before the end of 2025, we will be doing personal LLM grooming with like ChatGPT and other open sources for Chinese, because I have already reached the end of the Duolingo Chinese course, and Chinese course does not have an LLM functionality yet. So the Spanish course is the premier LLM max functionality with the LLM stuff. So I'm starting Spanish, not necessarily there's a lot of reasons why I'm starting Spanish this year. And it's the most familiar language that I have to date. So Japanese was the most unfamiliar but part of my life. Chinese is the second most I'm most familiar with. I went from least familiar to most familiar. So Japanese is the one that I know least amount, even though it's part of my life since I was 5 years old. And then Chinese came second. And then Spanish actually comes third, as in I'm most familiar with Spanish. And it is still part of my life since I live in the United States. It's difficult to travel around without encountering Spanish speakers. So I'm more likely to be able to encounter and use Spanish. So at some point, I imagine a future where all of us is just gonna be learning, 2 or 3 languages, and we're gonna be speaking Japanish. I don't know how you combine Spanglish with how you combine Spanish with Japanese. Spam. But I look forward to it. I really do look forward to it when all of us are collaborating and exchanging different languages all the time. Your mother tongue is French, so you definitely find Spanish a somewhat easier language to learn. Yeah, so you get like Spanglish. Yeah, Spanglish. That's it. Oh, hey, Sub-Zero is back. Speaking of someone who slacks off with language learning, I'm kidding. Oh, there's Sub-Zero. Yeah. And 2025 is going to be filled with a lot of plans, but man, 2026. Just think about 2026. We're going to be throwing around some languages. Oh, which by the way, yesterday, I know you already head off because it's late around the time when I start. Yesterday I was making an observation about French during, I think, when I was doing my Chinese lesson, and I realized that it is very difficult to not use a French adapted Middle English word when you're trying to sound professional. Someone mentioned about professional speak. Oh, it was Cozy mentioned about working their resolution. One of their resolutions is working on communication, And there is a large lexicon of vocabulary that I don't use online. Like, I legitimately will sound incredibly different if I'm in a professional setting. And I had a wild, fun gag every time I was like, wait, okay, let's think about the words that I would use that are not, you wouldn't hear me use them. Like 99.9% of the time, you would not hear me use these words unless I'm in a professional setting or trying to be like creative writing situation and whatnot. And I asked myself, what are the chances that the vast majority of those words are from French origin? You know, because of, now that I know your mother tongue is French, I was thinking like, sometimes there's this constant reinforcement of French being an eloquent, like a very elegant, somewhat high class use. It sounds fancier from like the Germanic roots of the rest of the English words. So my first word that I thought of yesterday was maudlin. And sure enough, it's French. And we kept going, like what is it? Let's think about, you know, I'm kind of curious. Now we gotta do this. We gotta do this. Okay, let's what about idiosyncrasy? Where does idiosyncrasy come from? We'll use idiosyncratic. Oh no, this one is actually okay. This one is English, Greek. Okay, so not idiosyncrasy. Let's think of another fancy word that I would use. Perfunctory. What about perfunctory? Oh no, this is straight from Latin. Okay, maybe not. Yesterday I was on a roll though. I was like 6 out of 7 words. I'm like, yep, that's French. I guess it's falling apart now. It might be a confirmation bias at this point. What's another Frenchy like word? Abscond. Abscond. I don't even know how to spell it. Abscond? Someone help me out. Abscond? Wait, is that what I'm thinking of? Wait. I can't spell words that I say. Wow. Oh, there it is. Abscond. Thank you. Abscond. What is the origin of this? The origin comes from, okay, it's a Latin word. That doesn't cross over with Old French. Lots of the words that I use have Old French roots before they hit Middle English. So, oh well, semantics is a whole other rabbit hole. Yeah, I know. Fascinating with Latin and Romance language, indeed. It's been a while. Yeah, Sub-Zero. Happy holidays. I hope your holidays was nice. Sub-Zero, what are you up to now? Are you getting back into academics again, preparing for the new semester? I'm trying to think of words that serendipity. What about serendipity? I feel like serendipity's got this. No, it's just straight up English. Okay, I lied. Yesterday, I guess I just felt very fancy. Man. Dang. Magnanimous? What about magnanimous? Latin and English. Wow. Okay. I lied. Today I'm like 7 for 7 from Latin and English. Like Old English. Huh. Intriguing. Alright. Well, maybe I'll throw in some words when it comes to mind. But maudlin is a great one. Oh, ennui? Ennui was yesterday's word. I like ennui. Ennui is a fantastic word. That is French, right? Yeah, that's French. Ennui. A few French words in English you can think of is, oh, restaurant. Entrepreneur. Yeah, entrepreneur was what triggered yesterday's Faux pas, cliche, yeah. Ballet, deja vu, yep. Chic, and fiance. Oh, that's right. Gourmet. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I have used those words in my professional background before. Ennui, maybe not so much either. Um, like they would be like, we were trying to think of like technical words where I would use in a professional background that clearly sounds really fancy. I don't work in food services or business. I don't have a background in business as well. But those are really great words. Nonchalant, right? Nonchalant is one that I would use. Um uh I like I like that English has this property. I feel it's often a point of ridicule or criticism where like English has so many different flavors, and I actually find that this is very at home. A language that has these characteristics. Yep, semester starts in 3 days. Okay, holiday has been good except the fact that I lost my iPhone on the bus on the 25th. On Christmas Day, you lost your iPhone. Trying to seem like a lost case, so I'm looking at new phones at this moment. Nice to see a new learning resource journey. Yeah, WaniKani. We only recently started. It's 2025. We started in 2025. Or we started like New Year's Eve right before 2025. So yeah, here we are. And we're already having massive amount of discussions already with peeps. That must have been a nice Christmas present for whoever found your phone. That's certainly true. I feel like Apple ID stuff is difficult to repurpose, no? So we celebrate on the 24th here, so it's technically after Christmas here. Oh, like you Christmas. I mean, for the record, both Sub-Zero. Why do you have to choose between the 24th and the 25th? Why don't you just celebrate both days? You pep? I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Sub-Zero. Interesting. Just found out your second monitor I was gonna use doesn't work. Oh, rip. Yeah, Christmas Day is 24th, you mean? Yeah, okay. That's understandable. Then why don't you celebrate the 23rd and the 24th? You gotta be greedy with the holidays. Kidding, I'm projecting. Sorry. I'm using the Americana mentality where over like if you span it out for another like decade or two, the holiday practically encompasses the entire week. You know what I mean? Like after a while you're like, oh man, Christmas is too short. Why don't we include the day before? Fast forward another 20 years, it's like, Christmas is too short. Why don't we include the day 3 weeks before Christmas? Oh, okay, now it's 3 weeks and 1 day long. Like, okay. And then eventually, the joke, obviously, the running joke for the United States is that eventually every single day will be a national holiday and we'll be good. Actually, Vsauce did a YouTube short on this, which is pretty funny. He actually went through and literally figured out like, oh, okay. So all these days are blocked out. So how many days left do we have before the government makes the entire calendar year a national holiday? And it was pretty funny. That's my thought sometimes. Holiday burnout, I swear. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, then pre-Christmas and New Year's, yeah. It works well because your girlfriend's family celebrates the 25th. Oh, so you get to double party. You sneaky little son of a gun. Yeah, we do that too. So when there's a family circle, right, and everyone didn't decide to travel, what they end up doing is if somehow it was the same year that everyone wants to stay, everyone decides on a different day, and it would be within the week. So then all the So everyone would have a turn at hosting everyone else who's not hosting at the time. So at some point, if oftentimes, other friends encourage other friends to, hey, you should go and visit your relatives abroad or something, so that this doesn't happen too often. So usually it's like 2 or 3 families that would rotate, as in, like, one day it would be one family, the next day would be another family, and then the next day would be another family, right? But it would be the same families, only they're taking turns hosting. However, if they decide to go abroad, then it's like, oh, they just hang out once and then they go abroad, so you would only have to attend once, right? But sometimes, on a rare occasion, everyone decides, oh, this year we're gonna stay home. So then you have like a week worth of stuff, because there are 7 families. So every family takes a turn hosting the other families who was hosting prior. It's a little outrageous, but all in the Americana spirit, right? Anyways, I totally get it. You heckin' double celebrator, you. This year was pretty tame. We most people were abroad, so we just chilled. How did I say this to my friends? It was delightfully and sufficiently uneventful. So I basically did the same thing that I would do pretty much every day. We language learned. All right, we're gonna switch gears. You know, language learning brings us together, and language learning is the start. Fun fact: a double entendre. Yeah. Oh yeah, double entendre was yesterday's vocabulary too. Yeah, it's a French word. But it doesn't mean anything in French. I found that out yesterday too. Gemini told me that it doesn't really mean anything in French. Yeah, entendre was one of them. Indeed. What about innuendo? Is innuendo French? Let's see. Innuendo. Latin roots. No, it's just straight up Latin roots. Okay. Innuendo. Not fancy enough. I'm saying this in a endearing way. I kind of like when French people are unapologetically fancy. Sorry if that doesn't jive with other American stereotypes or foreigner stereotypes. My family has a personal family friend that is French, and I love how he like owns his personality. Yeah. By the way, I'm like Googling this and using Gemini at the same time when I'm testing words. I have quite a lot of esoteric words that I refrain from using. Oh, reframe is a great one. Reframe is a word that I would use quite often that I don't usually use when I'm streaming. Reframing from doing something. Restrictive, stringent, vicissitude, meandering. I use meandering occasionally. Meandering. I'm kind of curious about meandering. That kind of sounds very poetic. Meander. Nope. Latin and English. Okay. Latin and Old English. Same. Been like that for the past few years. It's chill though. I see. Which phone do I have, by the way? I'm considering making the switch to Android. Don't do it. I'm kidding. I still have my old Pixel 6. Pixel 6's support isn't going to end until next year. So then I'll probably pick up a Pixel 10. My historic thing is I had a Pixel 1, a Pixel 3, and a Pixel 6. The years keep getting longer and longer. There was at some point I was like going like every other year, but then Pixel to Pixel 3 is every other year. Now Pixel to Pixel 6 is every 3 years because Android support has extended its life. So the next time Pixel 10 rolls around, it's 6 years, right? It's 6 years. So maybe I'll wait till 4 or 5 years before I update. So Pixel 6's support life cycle is going to end soon. Yeah, so I use a Pixel. Middle of the road when it comes to hardware. and then it's largely for the Android experience. Yeah, they are middle of the road value purchases, and oftentimes if I'm gonna have a Google OS, if I'm gonna rely on Android, OS, then I might as well buy the product that is rolling out the software. So it's purely out of accessibility to the software, for better or for worse. I'm not saying that the pure stock Android experience is like the best. That's like kind of saying authentic food tastes the best all the time, right? Mentality check. I know. I just said something very, very hot take, but generally speaking, it's a different experience. Although I have heard quite nice things about development fork of Galaxy OS, so Samsung does make a wonderful thing, and Oxygen OS for, what is it? Who does Oxygen OS? Whoever, Appo? Someone does Oxygen OS, but those are the other competing software, like software forks on top of Android. My brother speaks really well of his Pixel 8, so I might consider the Pixel line too. It's very reasonably priced. I think functionality wise for features, and then accessibility to the software is what you're for, right? Security, software features. First line of defense is probably the Pixel device. So if there's a security vulnerability in Android, well, the devices that will most likely address or get that front-loaded security vulnerability secured first is probably a Pixel device. So that's the reason why I have a Pixel device. Largely like quality of life decision making, as opposed to like fancy new things. Obviously, fancy new things. If you want fancy new things, probably buy an iPhone. Buy another iPhone. I'm not one for like brand loyalty. It's about critical decision making. If you're lazy and you don't want to be, you're not a stickler for all the semantics about accessibility and whatnot, and you're more into the bells and whistles and smooth experience, probably go get another iPhone. The newer Galaxy S series are super cheap here. So, oh yeah, the S series. So all the second rotating refinements, so all the second gen iterative designs on the previous gen are excellent values, right? The S series being an example. What is it? It's A. The A series, I think that's what they use for pixels. So the A series. So all those are really functionally excellent. And then the software experience is comparable, right? Comparable. Heck, if I was loyal, I'd go for Sony Xperia. I see. I used a lot of devices. I even remember most of them. So my first phone of the contemporary digital age, not the smartphone, but the contemporary digital age, my first cell phone that I had was a Razr, or Moto Razr. Then it switched to the LG Voyager. And then after the LG Voyager, it was... Wow, did I really wait that long for the next thing? Yeah. I switched to a Note. Oh no, I didn't. HTC One. I switched to an HTC One. And then came the Note 4. And then the rest was history, right? Pixels. So, yeah. I think I might be missing one in between the HTC One. Oh, the Droid. The Moto Droid. So there was a Moto Droid before the HTC One. And then a Note 4. And then Pixel 1, 3, and 6. Those are my order of the modern age. Yes, the first phone I purchased when I was in need of a cell phone was the Moto Razr. that's when I became a teenager that could drive a car. So naturally a cell phone comes into the equation when I'm running about being a very respectable working teenager who is out at like 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. still working. So yeah. Yours was the Sony Ericsson. I see. Intriguing. And then Samsung S3, then Apple from there. Ah, okay. Yeah. Hello there, Churn. Hello. All right, we got to switch gears. But this was an excellent discussion. It's great to fill in some of the time to, build some new memories. I'm sorry if it's not entirely dedicated to language learning. But language learning breeds all of these communications, right? And in the end of the day, all of us are interested in language learning. I'm not saying all of us are language learners because Sub-Zero is a slacker. Anyways, so in the end of the day, we're all language learners. That's amazing. I don't know what Sub-Zero considers himself these days. He's interested in language learning though. All right. So I'm excited for tomorrow. That tomorrow hype for WaniKani, right? Only Gecko has to decide if they want to keep their opinions to themselves about what's going to happen tomorrow. But tomorrow's a big day. It's day 5 of WaniKani. Look at these pips. I'm excited to see what's happening. And no worries, if nothing happens, it's still kind of exciting and funny. So, I'm excited. Oh yeah, and Blair knows what's supposed to happen too, and Blair's not saying anything as well. So, making me suspicious because I'm excited. Look at that. We're 1 pip away. That's like waiting for your anime show to, the next episode of your favorite anime show. I'll definitely try to tune in. It's so exciting. All right, these are the little things. You gotta love these moments, right? Like, I look forward to studying, guys. I look forward to getting on WaniKani and Duolingo and hammering it out. So I hope you guys do too, right? You have to remind yourself, in my opinion, I would encourage you guys to remind yourself that you are doing this voluntarily, right? No one is telling you you have to learn this language. No one is telling you you have to do this. So the last thing you want to do is not look forward to the thing you're choosing to do. And WaniKani is like watching my favorite episode come on, right? Like you're waiting for that episode. And this is the big one. We've been working, we've been hyperbolic time chambering it up, we've been training, and tomorrow is possibly going to happen. So I'm kind of excited. I'm here keeping all you in check with the language learning. Ain't got time to learn for yourself. Alright, Sub-Zero. Maybe one day. I'm laughing at the fact that not all of them are going to hit 5 on the same day. Listen! You missed it, okay? Do you know how I missed this? Do you know how I missed Yama? It's because I heckin' typed Yama twice, Blair. Don't even at me right now. Don't even at me right now, okay? I typed Kawa. I typed Kawa when I was extra studying. You'll at me so hard. Alright. It's fine. It's fine. This has been a humbling experience, okay? This has been a humbling experience. This is why we practice fundamentals or try to think in other people's shoes, right? This is like thinking in other people's shoes. You know what I didn't miss? All right. Sorry. I'm going to try to keep this PG-13. One that I didn't miss. Let me tell you the ones that I didn't miss and I didn't hesitate on because they don't have any meanings. It's so from left field. I'm gonna see if you think the same way or like how different it is. The one that I didn't hesitate on is power because I had no idea. Prison, had no idea that's what they were gonna go for. And last but not least, gun. Oh wait, stick is fine too. Stick is fine. These are the 4. Like immediately when I see them, it's like, oh yeah, that's what that is, because I didn't think of it as a stick, and I didn't think this as a power. I didn't think of this as a prison, and I didn't think of this as a gun. Immediately I'm like, oh okay, I can get behind those. All the other ones, like I have to pause every single time. I'm like, wait, yes, wait. I almost got chi wrong. I keep trying to type lady or female. I keep typing lady or female or woman. I don't even know if they accept these two, actually. I haven't really tested it. I keep trying to type nana for this. Kawa multiple times. Ki multiple times. It goes on. You know, just goes on. You just celebrate your WaniKani anniversary, so it brings back fun memories. Aww. I'm glad. Happy WaniKani anniversary. I still like it a lot now, but it's just not the same excitement. So now I'm sort of counting on me to rekindle. That's right. That's how it should be. That's what you should be feeling right now. And I do the same, actually. I actually watch people learn English because it gets me excited about English again. Like, I like watching Japanese people learn English and stuff. Like, it gets me hype, and now it makes me want to like rediscover English as well. So learning a new language is kind of a breath of fresh air. Learning another language, another language, that's it rekindles that joy, in my opinion, which you already have in a way through these vids and conversation. Well, thank you. Those are very kind words, and I hope you'll begin to continue to appreciate. Here's my thought. I know this is gonna sound really weird, but let's say I make an error, right? Lots of people would get frustrated. They would say something like, oh man, why do you keep making that error? It's like this. But think about it this way. If you know the right answer, you should be reminding yourself how much you know from then. Like, I am someone who is representing a position in time, in space, that you were a long time ago. So in any way, if you're frustrated in seeing someone making the same errors that you make, think about it this way. You don't make those errors anymore, presumably, and you also know all of these things. Isn't that great? Like, at least in my opinion. Like, you can turn a lot of like associated negative feelings and whatnot into a form of nostalgia. So, and I kind of like how you're phrasing it. Like, it's bringing back fun memories as opposed to it's triggering bad experiences, if you know what I mean. Because quite a lot of people would have the PTSD situation where they would focus on the negative experiences, flooding them. That is explaining to me their current mindset in treating language learning. And cynicism is something, and the valley of despair is a really big thing when it comes to the human condition in learning things. The curse of knowing too much. Yeah, the curse of knowing too much. Innocence is no longer there, and without innocence, sometimes human condition normalizes it to monotony, right? To mundanity. I don't think that's a word. To mediocrity, right? To happenstance. Like, oh, okay, I know all this now. Now it's just not exciting. Well, here you are. Seeing people learn English is both amusing and frustrating. Exactly, but props to attempting it. I know, right? All right. That's a great place to stop. I'm hyping this up so much, like, because I'm so excited to see what happens. It's the next milestone. I'm gonna hit one of these characters. Don't even give me that look, Blair. Most of these characters are gonna hit 5 pips, and I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow. I might not even be able to sleep. Maybe I might dream about what's going to happen tomorrow. I feel like the universe is going to explode. Kidding. Oh yes, with Japanese I sometimes am frustrated by perceived lack of significant progress, but then once in a while I really think back to where you came from, which is 0, and it's rewarding. Exactly. You got to keep attached to it somehow. If not, hear me out. YouTube, Twitch have no shortage of people who could literally demonstrate to you, yeah, I've been there. And finding a positive core, or even interacting with, say, your surrogate vicarious past, is a great way to truly, and here's my plug, my singular plug, it's truly the reward of a teacher. That is how I feel when that thing that we're talking about right now is one of the core essences of why, when you learn something and you know something and you are able to impart that knowledge to the next generation, like in a beginning sense or in an earlier time period, it's of a reward, in my opinion. Like, I get to revisit what I used to know. I get to demonstrate things that I have learned, and then I get to interact with someone who will also undergo their journey, in which they will hopefully have a healthy and happy relationship within the progressive frustration of the valley of despair, right? Because of the significant progress, because diminished return, and like how expertise work when you reach a critical limit in knowledge. So anyways, that would be our end statement for this, right? For the fun shigwe? What? I was listening to someone sing in Japanese with lyrics on screen. I could finally follow along with the Japanese. Oh, I see. Oh, a fun segue. Oh wait, is that how you spell segue? Wait. You know what? I honestly haven't ever known how to spell segue, but I totally get what you mean by segue. Oh my gosh. Is that really how you spell segue? Wow. It's Italian. I honestly did not know how that's how you spell segue. I always spell it segue as in the motorized thing. Okay, I learned a new word. You only learn the word the segue from LTT. Yeah, so I spell it this way, but segue can be spelled this way because it also means the same thing. It's Italian for follows. I did too many spelling bees as a kid, read the dictionary once or twice. Yeah, so I had no idea this is how you spell segue. Like another way, or maybe like a more pop, like in actual historically, like segue, I spelled it this way because of the motorized thing. Yeah, like I had no idea. This sounds good. I even knew it's segue only because, hear me out here. Hear me out. The only reason when I said, "Oh, fun segue," and then do you know why I said segue? This Chinese. You might be thinking, "Oh no, but this is more like French." But no, segue. Where this is a what it. Like you could get that from segue. Of course, it could be like segwa, but it's segue. Like that's kind of funny, man. Honestly, I wouldn't have thought this was segue if I didn't learn Chinese. But anyways, like pinyin. I'm talking about pinyin now. And it feels like, yeah, gue from Spanish as well. Yes, and Spanish, right? French is related because they're both Romance languages. Yeah. Learning languages. What can you do? You just start thinking and looking at stuff differently. All right. We really got to switch. Okay, we're having too much fun. Everyone go grab a snack or something. All right. While I change. Right. So there you have it. We spent an hour and a half talking about random things. Nice. You just ate dinner? Well, go eat an apple or something. All right, folks. So for all the people who are interested in WaniKani, That's what we have for the first day, first 4 days. That's the experience, the WaniKani experience. So if you're curious what happens in the first 4 days, well, you learn your lessons and then you review another 3 times, right? There you have it. So if you're gonna watch this later, thanks for watching, right? And hopefully all your holidays are fantastic, right? Happy holidays to everyone who's tuning in later, following the holidays. So until next time, mata ne, ja ne, minasan. We're gonna switch now to Duolingo, and we're just gonna be farming reviews. Give me a minute.